What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my gradient mesh tutorial. We are on episode 27, and last episode I left off tweaking the ear layer, and we're just going to continue from where we left off. I'm just going to keep moving the lines around. I recently messed this part up, and I'm just kind of retouching it up. I'm trying to get the shadow to be a little bit more prevalent. I'm going to straighten out some of these lines. I'm also going to fix up some lines over here, but for the most part I'm just going to fast forward through this section of edits. Alright, so I'm pretty much done framing and structuring the geometry of the ear here. And the next step is we're going to color it now so we can then figure out what we need to change, and then we can finalize the ear from that point on. Then we can move on to another shape of the face. So I'm going to take my direct selection tool with A on the keyboard, and then I'm going to take my eyedropper tool by hitting I on the keyboard. And now when I hit Control key on the keyboard, it easily switches back and forth between my direct selection and my eyedropper. And that's going to make this process very easy. So I'm just going to start coloring in these points, and we will see when we're done. Alright, so quickly I just realized I'm going to actually need one point in here because I need another point to stop the darker tones of this line here coming through all the way until this point. So I need like a roadblock. So that's the reason I just put that guy there. Alright, so for the most part, this ear is looking pretty spot on, with the exception of just a few areas where we could improve the side-to-side blending. And as well as, I feel like we just lost a little bit of depth or darkness in the deep shadows of the ear, such as up in this area, and as well as maybe over here. I just feel like it could be a little darker and a little bit more defined. So this is my drawing here, and then this is the realistic one. So really not too bad. I think it's pretty solid for the most part. The shapes and colors follow the right trend, but I think we just need to do a little bit of blending. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our direct selection tool and our eyedropper again, and we are going to do the left, left, right, right technique. So what we're basically trying to do is smoothen out any harsh color changes, such as maybe like over here where it looks a little unnatural, or like right here, or this point right here that needs to be changed. So any of these points can be blended via the eyedropper tool. So if we take this area, for example, and we can take color directly next to it, and what that is doing is it's basically pulling and mixing the tones between the anchor point before it and after it. So it's basically mixing the tones of this anchor point with this anchor point. So it's giving a little bit more of a smoother transition. And depending on where you click and depending on what color you're trying to achieve, that's going to determine what direction you click. So you can see by selecting color next to these points and sampling color from the left and the right of these anchor points is actually giving us a bit of a smoother transition between colors. It also looks a little more natural. See, like areas right here where I'd say the color is a little too harsh, moving from left to right in this spot right here. So I can go from up and down with my eyedropper tool like this. If I just keep going back and forth, if I just click the color below, let's say I go back up and I select the color above. Select the color above, 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 down, down, and you just keep mixing these tones, and that's going to give a smoother transition of color, and that's what we're looking for. I would say that harshness is gone and it looks more round with that ear. So we're just going to keep moving along the ear and flattening out these weird areas. So I'd say a little bit blending can be used over here. So I'm going to take this point, I'm going to start from here, and then I'm going to select the color above it, and I'm going to just go down the line, and I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to go to the right, left, 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 right, right, right. And you can see what we're doing here. We're spreading these colors throughout all these anchor points to give a proper gradient, so I don't see any weird changes of color between any two anchor points. And this is going to make the skin look smoother. It's just going to make everything look a little nicer. You get rid of any type of digital or gradient mesh kind of splotchiness or streakiness that seems to happen when we don't properly blend the colors between anchor points correctly. So I'm just going to go up and down on these points. I think I can use a little vertical blending. Definitely looking better so far. Let's keep going. The key is just to identify areas of the ear or areas of wherever you're drawing that you're not really happy with and you want to see improvements of color. So I think this could be slightly more smooth on the brim of the ear in general. So I'm just going to go down and just do my little technique, back and forth, up and down. So I'm going against the grain to fix this. If I were to go left to right, it really wouldn't do much because I think I can be a little smoother on the edge of the ear. Now, if you want more clarification on this technique, I have done this technique every single shape throughout this whole tutorial, where I even go into more explanation on different parts of the face with this. So if I'm not doing as much explanation as needed for this ear, please go back and watch other tutorials, as you will learn how to draw other parts of the face just as well as the ear by watching how I do everything from point A to point B. I'm so far into this tutorial now where, although I'm trying to show everybody who clicks on this particular video or any type of singular episode of this tutorial, I'm just trying to show everything, but it's getting so repetitive where this is really just, the project is meant to be the entire face. So if you're just tuning in for one episode, I apologize if you're not getting the full experience, but I hope at least watching me is enough. But if not, please check out my other videos and you'll see more explanation on each of these techniques that I'm using. I'm just going to add a little bit more life into these ears, especially where I lost a lot of my shadows. So I'm just going to sample that color right there where I think it could be helpful to add this tone. I think at the top we need a tone where that shadow is. Yeah, see, I already think that's looking much better than what I just had. Just got to clean up over here a little bit. I see this dark spot. Alright, so I'm just going to blend the colors actually within this bounding box. So I'm going to do my up, down, left, right technique here. And I see some blending that I can be done on the vertical lines because I have kind of a horizontal streakiness right here. It's a little bit harsh and going horizontally. So in order to get rid of that, I'm going to need to blend vertically. So I'm going to take my points and I'm just going to select color above each point across this whole line. And I'm just going to go all the way. And then when I get to the bottom of where I think I need to stop, I'm going to go the other way. So I just went up above each line. Now I'm going to select below each line and I'm going to spread out this color. I'm actually going to select all three of these points at once and see if that's going to make a bigger difference on making this a smoother transition. So I think that actually looks better. It makes more sense. Let me continue to blend. Alright, so now I want to get rid of a little bit of this vertical streakiness. So I'm just going to blend from right to left on these. So I'm going to go to the right first. Now I'm going to go to the left. Alright, for the most part, I'm happy with the way this ear looks. I mean, it's not identical completely, but really what is identical completely on this drawing? I mean, we are drawing. I mean, it looks realistic to someone who wouldn't even know that this was a drawing. If I didn't tell you and I showed you this, I mean, you would think that looks freaking real. So I'm not going to get too hung up on like making it extra perfect. I mean, look at that ear. That's a beautiful looking ear. It looks very realistic. And I think I'm just going to clean up this little part up here just a little bit more, and then I'm pretty much going to call it from there. I just think it's a little streaky over here. So I'm just going to color match all these points because I think that's the problem. And I'm just going to darken them up. I'm actually going to I have to add another point here, I think. And then I can group select all these now, darken them up. Maybe group select these two, darken them up. This guy and this guy, darken them up. Let's blend a little upward for more darkness. Alright, so I pretty much think that does it for the ear. I mean, I think that ear looks good. I don't really see much reason to continue to play with it. I mean, I could sit here and try and, you know, do something to it, but I don't think it's gonna make it any nicer than what I'm really sitting with here. So I think I'm gonna call it on that, and I think I'm really happy with it. For the most part, I just want to double check this spot right here. I kind of see like a little weird indent on her face. I kind of want to smoothen it out a little bit. I don't know what's happening. Alright, so I think that does it for this episode. We got the ear done. I don't want to overdo it for this episode because on the next one we're going to dive into, I think we're going to dive right into the lips. I think we're going to leave anything hair related like the eyebrows and the hair last so we can stay on that mindset for that entire duration until we finish the drawing. Because right when we finish the lips, we're really just left with hairs and eyebrow, and then we're done. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe that we've made it this far, but we are making it. We are almost there, and I really am grateful for anyone who was watching, especially whether it's this episode alone or the entire series and you're drawing along. Please let me know how you're doing, if you have questions, if you like the video, if you don't, what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right. Any info helps, but My name is Mark DiMattei. You can find me on Instagram at markedarts. That's MARKD_ARTS. Guys, I'll see you on the next one.